This is the MHS Pawdcast, the online radio voice of Metuchen High School.
Hey everyone, welcome to a special edition of the Metuchen High School Podcast, the online radio voice of MHS. I'm Eddie Kalegi here with Josh Hyman. We've got a couple of our former members here, Sarah Terracina and Dylan Manfre. We're going to be talking about college in 2020. Of course, that's one of the things this year that's extra weird, so we'll talk to them about that. Before that, though, just a couple of sports things, a quick sports report. Shout out to the girls cross country team for winning the red division this year in the GMC. The field hockey team, I just broadcasted their game. They won senior night 6-4 against Monroe. What a night for Noelle Leaf. She scored all 6 goals for the Bulldogs, 14 goals on the season, 6 tonight, as the Dogs are now 6-0. And lastly, the football team fell on Saturday. Tough defeat against St. Thomas Aquinas, 46-0. They'll look to come back with a win against Roselle Park, hopefully, and get in the win column this season on homecoming on Saturday. So let's move on here. I mean, the college experience has to be weird. I'm going to start with you, Dylan, because you've been in college before. You're a junior. This is year 3 at Rider. How has this year been different from your first 2 years in college?
Well, for one thing, I'm living at home for this semester and not on campus, which I have done all of my semesters of college leading up to this point. As a sports editor of the Rider News, a student newspaper of Rider University, we're supposed to be covering sports right now. And, you know, my co-editor, Sean Chornobroff, and myself now have done an exceptional job of maintaining the sports section in this time. You know, there's a lot of, news reporting that we're having to do in the realm of sports, such as, reporting positive COVID cases, which I just did today as the men's basketball team just got its first positive test. It's been a struggle. It's been a grind, but we made it this far. Academically, it's nowhere near the same experience. Rider University has marketed itself on its Resolved and Ready plan and saying that students are going to have a similar experience. No, it's far from that. It's far from it. I was down on campus today just to get out of the house and, just see some people. I was in the newsroom for a little bit because that's one of the few places on campus I can concentrate. It's definitely different, Eddie. It's definitely different.
Sarah, let me turn it to you. I can see the big R in the background. You're a freshman at Rutgers this year. And, when you were looking at the college experience, so excited about starting college this year, but certainly it has to be different than what you expected. Take us through just about what freshman year has been like for you through the first 2 months.
Sure. So I'm an aerospace engineering student. And even though we're virtual, I'm extremely excited to get started on my career path because it's hard, but it opens up a lot of opportunities. So even though we've been virtual from the summer, the student organizations at Rutgers have been so passionate about recruiting freshmen that I've been able to get involved with everything that I wanted to as if I was on campus. So for example, I'm really involved in the Society of Hispanic Engineers, and they provided a really strong familia for me to connect with. And I have a mentor, and she's also an aerospace engineer. And everyone's just looking out for me in that way. So that's been really helpful to connect and get excited about what I'm studying. Another thing I get involved with is Society of Women Engineers. I'm standing right now because for the past 6 hours, I've been at the Society of Women Engineers virtual conference and talking with recruiters and, JPL, that's NASA. I've been talking with all these really cool dream companies, and it's virtual, so it's annoying because I am sitting all day and I am on my computer all day, but it's exciting because I'm still talking to these companies and to these people that I would be seeing on campus. And so as far as organizations go, I like that I can still join what I want to, but I don't like having to constantly be sitting. My eyes really, really hurt. That's something I noticed this week. My eyes hurt so bad, but I can't take a full break because I have so much homework to do. I'm taking 18 credits and they're all math and science, except for one. But like the rest, I'm just always pushing a deadline, so I can't be disconnected from my learning. And so that takes a toll, like physically, more than anything.
Yeah, and we know, me and Josh, like at the high school, like what Mr. Kegel always calls Zoom fatigue. It's tough being in front of a computer screen and paralleling that with college work. But what Sarah alluded to, it might be different, things might be virtual, but you're still getting able to make those connections that you really enjoy in college. And I know, Dylan, you're still continuing with all your writing and such. You're still getting to write articles. It might be different this year, but how are you making the most of this situation?
We're really making the most of the situation. Are you asking specifically like as a journalist, as a journalism major?
Yeah, I'm just as a journalism major.
As a journalism major, this is given, again, Sean Schoenbroff, my co-editor, and myself, the opportunity to really explore new ideas. It's given us great opportunities to write feature stories. Sean is doing a feature story on The Shot, which is, for those who don't know, it's The Shot. I forget what year it was. Guy by the name of Derek Subar, he hit a game-winning shot against Wagner in, I forget what year, that sent Ryder to the NCAA tournament for the first time. And he was really Ryder's first true superstar. So that was an interesting story that Sean's going to write. He also penned an article about the Ryder University football team that was, disbanded in 1951 strictly for financial reasons. Earlier in the semester, too, I did a look back on the Rider University field hockey team from the year 2000, which head coach Laurie and Dan Husong have talked about extensively as being one of the greatest teams in Rider history, and it is. So it's really been an opportunity to dig into some feature stories that you wouldn't normally get to write. It's also been an opportunity to hold people accountable, and that's, that's the framework of journalism, is holding people accountable, talking to your university administration, talking to your, communication officials to get a sense on what the coronavirus numbers are. My executive editor, Stephen Newcomb, does a sensational job of that, holding the university accountable, because he's not going to let them cover up a thing. He wrote an article saying how Rider University was not being transparent about its coronavirus numbers. I want to say like a week and a half later, Rider University just so happened to release its COVID dashboard, at which point we discovered they had conducted 8 on-campus PCR tests of its on-campus residents. 8. That's gross. So that's why journalism matters. That's why everybody should support journalism. I'm not going to go into that because that's like, that's an argument for another time. I'm not going to go on a tangent. I know we have limited time here, but journalism directly matters. And I got to applaud all the campus media organizations from across the country. From what I've seen, it really is phenomenal to see what student journalism can do at a time like this, for sure.
Yeah, and certainly, that also helps with people at home trying to stay in the know with what's actually happening at the college.
Sure.
I have one more question. Yeah, I've got one more question for Sarah, just kind of in that aspect. As a freshman, you've talked about different organizations you've gotten involved with already at college. It's not so bad at Rutgers compared to other schools, but because there are still some kids from MHS that go to Rutgers, but obviously you don't know most of the people that you're with. So how have you been able to try to connect with fellow students as a freshman at Rutgers?
So it's really interesting you mentioned that. The funny thing that's happened with virtual colleges, it's harder to talk to your town friends because you are physically close, like in proximity, but because we're all technically still going on different schedules, different classes at different times, with different homework loads, just because I'm free and I don't have a lot of homework one week, my best friend who goes to another school, it's her midterms week. Mine's passed, but now she is in midterms mode, so we can't hang out. Or even at Rutgers, we're in different majors or we're in different class sections. It really messes with the rhythm. So I can't physically, it's just really hard to coordinate that. And just kind of like that casual hanging out and just being together, working together, it doesn't happen because we get too excited if we hang out, we just want to talk. And so it leads to more working alone, which I really suffer through because I'm such a social person. But what I've done is I made a group chat from like 6 kids that for some reason just kept popping up in classes, and we just kept getting paired together, or our boxes were next to each other, and I just kept talking to them. And we have like a mini group that's just like, it's a locked group, so there's no like random bots popping in, because Rutgers group chats are big. There's like random people in there sometimes, but we just kind of go on Zoom sometimes, like for physics homework, and we'll just like work together and like bang out the whole homework in like a night. And so that's really helpful because then we can talk out problems. As I'm such like a communicative person, that's how I learn best. And so I use that to make friends and like supplement my learning.
That's cool. So that's really good that you've been able to, and Zoom has been so helpful in everything with both high school and college. Josh, I'll turn it over to you if you've got some questions.
Yeah, so I have a question. This is for both of you. Is there anything that you miss in particular about college or living on campus in general?
Yeah, Dylan, you can start.
I would say the part I missed most about just the normal college experience, aside from covering games, because that is such an integral part of my college experience, is really just being on campus full time. You feel independent. You feel like you can stand on your own 2 feet. I've said it before. My college life, my home life, these are 2 lives that should not be colliding. Here they are meshed together more than ever. And it's not to say it's like a bad thing, but they're like, I've already established myself at Rider. Here I am now 45 minutes away. I wish the commute was different. I wish I was a little closer to the situation because the gas bill's going through the roof. But, I'm going down 2 days a week minimum for work in the newsroom. And yeah, it's so many things, to be really honest with you, Josh. I do miss a lot, but I'm grateful for what I have. I'm grateful I do get to go down to see my friends in the newsroom Monday and Tuesday. We have a sensational time together working on the paper. It really is the most fulfilling part of my college experience so far. I'm grateful for my internship with the Trentonian, so I get to cover some live games again, high school sports back at that. But yeah, it's definitely different, and I know we're all just trying to get through this together.
And Sarah, what about you?
Well, I've never been to college, and I guess that's what frustrates me the most is when I speak to faculty members and they'll just be like, oh, like, you're not going back for a while. And I'm like, thanks. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, oh, how exciting. Like, no, like, I don't know. Like, for me, it's like, yeah, like I agree with what Dylan said. You're supposed to be establishing yourself as an independent person right now, and I can't. I feel like severely stagnated in that part of my life because there are other universities, both in New Jersey and in adjacent states, that are going back with their students on campus. And I'm not a medical expert, but I will say that the general consensus is almost as if not so much to trust science, but like, we just want to do what we feel comfortable with. That's fine, but admit it, and don't lie to your students like we're taking it for your best interest. Not necessarily true. I know there are students who really need to be on campus for disability reasons, for hands-on projects they're in their capstone project reasons, and for simple reasons as if we're paying full tuition, where, you know what I'm saying? Like that's, that you need to be on campus for a portion of that if you're going a full year. So yeah, essentially I feel frustrated that it doesn't feel like people say they want to go back on campus, but they're not really making a full effort to make that happen. And even if it's really just not possible, they're not making an effort to seem like they care enough about us coming on campus. People are getting too comfortable with that, and this isn't supposed to be a new normal. This is temporary.
Yeah, Dylan, go ahead. I see you want to add.
Yeah, look, I want to add something because Sarah said something that was very, very interesting. You guys are trying to get back on campus, some of the conduct that's happened at Rider University among certain populations doesn't really show that. We reported a story about 3 student athletes who went to a party at Ohio State University and then came back, didn't tell anybody, and then were consequently kicked off campus. We also reported that the athletic department held a meeting with close to 50 people, 50 student athletes, saying like, hey, we need your help. We need your help to help enforce these protocols, these rules, and these procedures so we can stay safe, so we can have some sort of a season, basketball season, or for college basketball, their season is going to start November 25th. We don't know currently the non-conference schedule for both the men's and women's basketball teams who are now in quarantine. I would love to be on campus, and everybody living on campus, and I know many, want to stay on campus. And I'm not pinning this on the student athlete population. I think some of them have done a phenomenal job, but clearly some of them have not. And I'm going to just leave it at that. But I want to make it known that some people's conduct needs to improve. And that's not to cast aspersions on anybody. And I don't want to get that to be misconstrued. But just like Sarah said, they want to be on campus. We want to stay on campus and be safe in the best way possible.
Mm-hmm. And, colleges have to be very careful just with the sheer number of people. And, Josh, it's a small sample size and it's a smaller thing compared to these colleges. But even in the high school, we had the issue back in October with the indoor gathering. And Josh, what was it? You said I know the football team, but also a couple boys soccer players had to get quarantined too.
We had a few kids on the soccer team who went to that party. Like you said, Dylan, with athletes, it has been a problem. One of the football games actually got canceled. It got canceled, because so many of the football kids were at this party, and we had 3 soccer kids who went to the party. They had to quarantine for a while. And so I understand how frustrating it is when you're trying to get back to some sort of normalcy, but there are people that are acting irresponsibly. Yeah. And I know that it must be frustrating for you guys who, you are working very hard for this independence in college, and now you're stuck back home, especially you, Sarah. You just graduated high school, and now you're back living at home. So I get how frustrating that can be, and I understand how you guys just really want to get back there. And it is going to take an effort from really every single person to follow the rules so we can get back there. And so moving on to the next question I had, with having to take all these online classes, Zoom calls, has this changed your opinion at all on maybe being more open to an online class in the future? Or do you think that you really want to go in person as much as you can?
Sarah, why don't you start here?
I never want to take another online class for the rest of my life, as long as I can.
That's very understandable.
I joined my because I wanted to do something hands-on. I'm learning still, but like I said, I cannot stand the physical toll it's taking on me. The isolation, like I'm in class, but I'm not really in class. The lack of discussion that would be more colloquial between the professors and I. Simple things like that. I just would not want to take another online class for the same price, especially.
Mm-hmm. And Dylan?
The fact that colleges and universities are charging full price or full tuition for this semester is beyond reasonable comprehension. You're not getting the same experience whatsoever, not even close to it. The Zoom fatigue is real. The Zoom fatigue has hit me like a freaking truck at times. And one of my philosophy with those fully online classes where the teacher puts up the lectures up there, there's pros and cons to it. I guess the pro you can say is you can fit it into your schedule whenever you want as long as you meet the deadlines. The con is that it gives off the impression of, okay, here's the work for the entire semester, go do it, I'll be over there if you need me. Send me an email if you need me. And I think that's a little, it's not ideal. It doesn't engage students, as Sarah said that's something she's looking for. It's not realistic of the college experience we all know and get excited about. Nowhere close to it. And certainly for me, like, one of those that class that I was just describing, my teacher, in the lecture videos, the teacher speaks very slow. So a good buddy of mine, Jordan Griffin, he gave a tip to go in the video and speed it up a little bit. So I got the professor talking like double time, and it makes that 30-minute lecture more like 20. And I just like pause and go if I need to take a note or something here and there, but it makes it a little more enjoyable. Certainly gets it done in a shorter amount of time.
I did want to know that I do have really good professors, and most of them are doing an excellent job accommodating the online thing. It's just for me, I obviously prefer in person, and I think the responsibility falls on the president and the board of governors to step up to the plate.
Yeah, and overwhelmingly, most teachers we've seen in the high school, and I expect the same at the colleges, like Sarah alluded to, they're doing a great job balancing things out. As we've noticed at the high school, these teachers had to go from teaching fully in person to fully remote to having to do both at the same time with the hybrid. And professors, it's different. And I know there's other colleges where there's some students in person, some are. I was looking at Fordham University, how they have some students that are on campus but are doing virtual school from their dorms. Like it's a different situation each place, but these professors are doing a great job. Obviously, everybody's got to step up in making a safer situation so that we can all go back to normal quicker. But you guys both seem like you're still trying your best to make the most. You certainly hate Zoom, but it's helping you get through right now. So Dylan, Sarah, it's great to have you back on today, and best of luck going forwards at Rider and Rutgers respectively.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thanks, Eddie.
So that'll wrap things up for today. For Josh Hyman, I'm Eddie Kalegi. We'll see you next time. We hope you have a great long weekend here. This is the Metuchen High School Podcast, the online radio voice of MHS.